Good morning, everybody. So my name is Anna Williams and I work as Education Officer and Community Officer in North West Wales. And I got a colleague, Ewan Edwards, who does similar jobs to what I do in the North East. I'm delighted to be able to talk to you this morning of something I'm very passionate about. And I'm going to take you on a whistle-stop tour of the work I do, but also including actions that you can all do as individuals for wildlife. Because as Roger said, it's very important that we all take responsibility as individuals. So my journey begins. Our work is not only about creating habitats or taking people to our nature reserves. A huge part of it is about winning people's hearts and minds over. Without that, we can't really have a long-lasting impact. And I very much agree with Attenborough's quote there, that people can't protect something that they are not connected with or they haven't even experienced. So our remit is to go out there, and I hope that you all will do the same, because I know you're all, I'm talking to the converted, and I'm going to start my journey on the Llyn Peninsula in a village called Llanyston, where I was approached to help them turn this unused site in the center of the village into a community garden. The help of the locals, of course, and the secondary school children, we were digging and planting and created this garden that has been used over the last 10 years, I'm pleased to say, as a community hub where toddler groups meet. The church uses it for activities. They're just opposite, and the vicar even has a barbecue in the garden and have sermons there, which is fantastic. I also heard recently that it's on a footpath, so many walkers come to stop. I just think that every village should have one of these. From the Llyn on to Carnarvon, where I've been involved in transforming some of the largest primary schools ground into inspiring outdoor learning spaces. Here we are planting a herb garden, and as you all know, they are great for attracting pollinators. We are digging to plant vegetables. And this, again, is something that everybody can do. People are concerned about climate change and what can I do to help? Well, local food production is important, and also to get children's hands dirty. Many children haven't done anything like this at home. So what we are hoping to do is not just do the projects at school, but inspire them. And I certainly hear from many teachers that this is exactly what happens. Some of the children will then start gardens in their own homes and reap the benefits. Everybody gets satisfied from a good crop of vegetables. And of course, during COVID, this has happened more and more, people starting to grow. This is the second school in Carnarvon. Just briefly show you how we're creating community, growing spaces, meadows and orchards. And this shrub border, the shrubs are now 3 times as big. Here we've got a butterfly border and obviously seating space. Those projects led to a visit by the Deputy Housing Minister, Hannah Blythen, there in pink, who came up as the Welsh Government were pledging to double the size of allotments and orchards in Wales. And some of this was to happen on school ground or school land, because it's all very well saying we want to do this and we might provide the money to do it, but have we got the knowledge? Have we got the expertise locally? So our colleagues in Wildlife Trust Wales, James Byrne, suggested they came to see what we were doing. And here she gets a chance to chat with the children, and hopefully we will see action and there will be more community growing spaces available. So I'm taking you on the journey. Daniel and high up in Snowdonia. This is a typical patch that schools have. Nothing much happens. And this teacher thought we need to do something. We need a space where children can go and learn outside. Of course, with the help of the pupils and the parent, we've now got a vibrant area where the teachers tell me, wow, this is so helpful, because now if I'm talking about flowers and how they work and bees, children can actually go out there and see it, and it makes education so much easier. This brings me on to a pollination project that both Ewan and I have been involved with in Wales, helping about 12 schools to create habitats and nesting sites for pollinators. Over time, of course, once we create the habitats, the wildlife arrives, and here you can see the girls doing their first scientific opal survey, checking out what pollinators are visiting their schools. And so somebody's written up a PhD thesis on this project. We need to train teachers, because definitely there's a lack of horticultural knowledge. Most children tell me that if they garden, they do it with their grandparents. So this next generation of teachers need a lot of training. So what can we do at home now? Autumn is not a time for slacking in the garden. It's actually a very busy time. Planting trees, Ewan and I are going to have a webinar soon about that, and also creating meadow. We're getting a bit late, but there's still time, and you can see more on our YouTube channel. Showing examples. Here's hedge planting with the children. Just because they're small doesn't mean they can't do a lot. In a day we planted 50 meters here, and we are protecting the trees from weeds, rabbits, trimmers. Similar project up in Rulas, a very exposed school. And of course, we need shelter in order to have a good wildlife garden. Fruit trees, orchards, very popular with schools. And I was glad to be able to go out even a couple of weeks ago to plant these trees. I got about 30 sitting in my garden waiting to go out. And all that work was stopped due to lockdown, and I was furloughed for a big part of this year. So I'm hoping to catch up now. Meadows is too much to talk about in detail, but we have got a webinar, and you can watch that, and you can also read our latest e-newsletter where I'm writing about creating meadows. This is just to show an example. You can plant plug plants. You can grow them yourselves and then put them in like we did with the community opposite Eithinag in Bangor. And we were delighted to have a site full of pollinators a couple of years later. Or bringing us home, you can sow seeds straight onto the ground. This is our own little town meadow. And of course, meadows are fantastic for packing a punch. In a few square meters, you have all those flowers and nectar for the pollinators. So other activities, of course, it's a time to plant bulbs in the autumn and weeding ponds. Ponds need weeding like any other borders. And of course, digging a pond, personally, I think you can do it anytime, but of course the ground is a lot softer now after all this rain, and they might fill up very quickly. Planting bulbs brings me back to Cleescarf, and I want to take you on a little journey here, how we have created a wildlife garden in what was quite a jungle. We found a cold frame right at the top. That's now turning into a pond. This was the main slope of our back garden, which through a lot of work, making terraces to start with, weeding of course, planting through membranes, we turned into this, a nectar border, which has been great for the pollinators. It's absolutely buzzing there in the summer, and we get solitary bees, leafcutter bees, mason bees, and I do think in the garden we have at least, we recorded about 10 different types of bees and bumblebees. We actually ran a bumblebee training day there and had about 5 bumblebees visiting on that one day. So in a town garden, you can find a lot of wildlife. Of course, it's not just for wildlife, it's for people as well. And a lot of our staff don't get to go out to our nature reserves or work outside on a daily basis. It's a place for them to have their lunch, relax, refuel, enjoy all the birds that come and visit. This was our first pond, created and spearheaded by these students you see in the picture, 2 zoology students and a Friars student, very keen to get on with digging. We've got some staff from time to time helping, and rayon reinforcing the stone wall at the front. Making a pond takes a lot of effort, and this time was slightly tricky from a design point of view because it's on a slope. We had to go and search for rocks, and here we found them on the clean, and this is the result. Of course, being a wildlife trust, we were delighted when the frogs popped in there first year and laid their eggs, so we had frog spawn. And now, actually, the other day when I've had a guided walk through the garden with the public, we could hear the frog croaking in the corner. I suggested we plant trees, and we've also managed to squeeze in a little woodland at the top. These are all good trees for you to plant in your gardens. Without our volunteers, none of this would have happened. Well, I'm leading the volunteer tasks about every other week or monthly. And over the years, we've seen the change. Obviously, we have fun as well. Not just volunteers, but being close to university and having Emily there, as you can see the picture holding the frog. We have had a lot of volunteers coming to the garden, learning on site, and also actually occasionally having a site to sit and do some revision work outside, which was fantastic for them. The garden has been a haven for birds. We keep a record there with the BTO, and we've had 32 different species visiting. Quite surprising how many different species and how regular they are at visiting. So a surprising jungle of wildlife behind our office. I'm running open days there as well. Okay, looking ahead. I've just launched a project called Trees, Bees and Peace. And this is aimed to help the community take action for climate change and our biodiversity loss. We got money from the Edina Trust. I'm going to work with 10 schools or communities straight away, I hope. And what's involved? Planting fruit trees, native trees or woodlands, grow vegetables, train the teachers, and then work, of course, with the pupils and people in the community to achieve these aims. We hope to carry on with the work around our nature reserves, bringing people there of all ages and abilities. Getting people out, this happened recently, and I took a group, we're starting a wildlife club at Korsgård, and they are very keen to carry on, and I hope that will happen shortly again. And obviously to all our different nature reserves. We couldn't run the fungus foray this year, but I hope next year that will be back. So thank you all very much for listening.